Calling the meeting to order for the Town of St. John Sanitary District for our regular meeting. Start out with the pledge of the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Aye. Hatfield? Here. Kill?
Here.
Brule?
Here.
Schaefer here. Sims?
Here.
All right. Looking to approve the minutes from January 17th of 2024. Looking for a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and second to approve the January 17th, 2024 board minutes. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carried. New business, discussion on the new Vector truck and upgrades.
Well, I'm pretty sure everyone heard about the new upgrades at the last meeting, so if there's any questions you have, feel free to ask. You did hear, correct? Yeah.
Is there any questions or discussion from the board?
I'm curious, what's a time frame on it? How long does it take to get that?
I have that same question to the sales rep, and it's probably, I would say, a year out,
Gotcha.
if not a little less.
And that's pretty standard, just from the work that I do. Chassis nowadays are taking anywhere from 18 to 24 months.
And this is custom built, obviously. This is, built once we order it, right?
Correct. It's semi-custom. They have their standard, and then you can change some of the options on it.
Gotcha.
So, I guess we'll have to pass another motion here to amend the original cost.
I will make a motion to amend the original cost for the new Vector truck to be $474,822, with the understanding that we cannot afford not to give Public Works the tools they need to do their job.
And that this will also be split, the cost will be split between the
Three boards,
water board, sanitary board,
And storm.
Stormwater.
right. So moved.
Looking for a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carried. I'm sure Public Works thanks you.
Thank you.
Sewer and landscape credits for a totaling of $307.57.
I'll make the motion to approve the landscape credits as presented on the agenda in the amount of $307.57.
Looking for a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Consider an engagement letter between the town of St. John and Baker Tilly, agreement to compile financial statements and continuing disclosure of annual filings related to the sewer bonds. Looking for a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the engagement letter between the town of St. John and Baker Tilly as presented.
Any question? No questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Reports and correspondence, Robinson Engineering, project updates.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only project we have going on at this time is the Acorn Lift Station abandonment, which is similar to the water project in the same area, substantially complete, awaiting some cleanup in the spring, and that one will get closed out. However, my colleague is here to discuss the I&I plan for certain areas of town.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Mr. President Board. It's a pleasure to be here again. Last in 2023, we talked about an I&I strategy, and I&I stands for inflow and infiltration. I know the board all understands it, but maybe the residents home want to know what I&I stands for. And what it is, it's rainwater getting into your sanitary sewer system. It's overcharging your sanitary sewer system, and you're also paying Sherrville to treat rainwater when you don't have to. Every town has it. St. John's not particularly worse or better, but every town has it, just due to the age. So we got a quick PowerPoint presentation. There's only 10 slides here, so I'm going to run it. On the side here. Let's go to. We'll just come down here. So we're going to talk about the ways of reducing the I&I. And first one is smoke testing, manhole inspection, flow monitoring, cleaning and televising sewers, and mapping. And I just want to show you some historical facts here of what's going on with your system. On this map here, you're going to see a gray line, a brownish gray line. That's your sanitary sewer flows. This darker blue line following down here is your water, your potable water flows. And the top bar scale is your rainwaters, is the rain events that has occurred. And the one that I'm highlighting here, we had a rain that was 1.74 inches, and we got close to 8.4 million gallons a day. Typically, you're in the range of about 1.8 million gallons a day. So you can see with this rain, and you look at where all the major peaks are at, there's a rain associated with it, that when it rains, we get a lot of rainwater in the sanitary sewer system, and it goes up. And like I said before, it's taken away capacity, which you only have a finite amount of capacity at the Sherrville wastewater treatment plant, and you're also being charged for it. So it's ideally is to remove that. Now the next slide you're going to see is pretty much the same thing. This is a little bit bigger one. We had a massive rain, a 3.9, almost a 4-inch rain in 2021, and it jumped up to almost 7.6 MGD. So we know that when the age of the town, and this next map is going to show it, is that there's primarily 4 subdivisions that are older. Everything else is relatively newer. And the 4 subdivisions, this one over here in purple, it's called the West Zone, which is Lantern Woods. And then the East Zone, which is called Lantern Estates. The central area is known where this little grayish brown color is, and the green area is called Homestead Acres. Working with the Public Works identified these as the biggest bang for a buck to find the I&I coming into the sanitary sewer. That these are the areas that are, because these were built prior to 1970. So the infrastructure, you probably don't have clay pipe. I'm sorry, you probably don't have PVC pipe. All the newer infrastructure going in has clay pipe. And you have clay pipe right now, and the clay pipe is deteriorating with roots, cracking it up, or just abuse from being 50, 60 years old. So these are the areas that we want to focus on. We gave you a price for doing all this areas, and it was sticker shock, and I don't blame you for one bit. Here's the cost for each zone. So in here, we have the zones listed on the top, west, east, central, and south. We have a quantity of lineal feet of sewer and a quantity of manholes in each zone, and then we have a cost associated with all this. So when you add all this up, all 4 zones together, you're looking over $1 million. And we know that we want to start to, I would say, crawl before we walk, before we start running on this. And so with conversations with your board and with the Public Works, it was decided that we think the best place to get the biggest bang for our buck would be out of the west zone. But note on the west zone, you can see where the limits are. And this is the older part of town, and we all know that's up in the northwest part of town. It has here costs for different work. The one that has NA on it is the cleaning and televising. That's almost half the cost of the project. And we wanted to try to identify where the inflow is coming in first. And by identifying where inflow is, because inflow is the cheapest way to reduce I&I, is to attack the inflow first and then the infiltration second. By doing smoke testing, manhole inspections, we could determine where the inflow is coming in at. The flow monitoring is determine what the baseline flow is before we do any improvements. And then we're going to do this again, which isn't included in this. This will be later in 2020, 25, another flow monitoring to see what the results are of the money that you spent. The idea is to get the lowest hanging fruit, the biggest bang for your buck, and the best return on your investments. And we know that what applies here will probably apply over on the east zone, will probably apply on the central zone and then the Homestead Acres area. So with that said, we kind of parsed it out, and this is the part about walking before running, is that for $78,000, you get your first zone done, and you see what kind of improvements are. With that, on the next slide, we have a schedule for doing this. So we couldn't have done any of this I&I work over the winter. Some of this is temperature dependent, and the biggest one is temperature dependent is the smoke testing. Smoke testing has to occur over the summer months when it's dry and the ground is pretty much baked out. So starting off, we got present the options for the February meeting. March, we get a task order approved. We can start the flow monitoring. It'd be 3 months of flow monitoring. The best time to do flow monitoring is in the spring because we get the spring rains. So we want to get the massive rains that we would typically get to see what the biggest peaking factor could possibly be. And then after that, we're going to be also starting with the manhole inspections. It should take two months. And then when we get to the summer months, it will be smoke testing. As we're going along and we're identifying manholes and service lines and anything else we do, we're going to be doing mapping updates on this. It will all go into your GIS system on it. And then after that, towards the end of summer, we'll do the data analysis and we'll do a report towards the fall time for you too on it. And then that pretty much spells out what the $78,000 is going to be getting you. So we know that there's a problem and we want to be proactive and try to address it. We just got to come up with a method of doing it. I know before in the past, some board members were like, we should do everything. That's great. We want you to do everything, but we think this is a good way to start out. In the next, say, 7 or 8 months from now, you'll get a good feel of what we're getting our biggest bang for our buck out of it. Now, when we go to the infiltration part of it, not the inflow, the infiltration part of it is that televised and cleaning. We could then look at all the clay pipe to see what is cracked, what the joints are coming apart, where you have roots coming in, and then we can determine what kind of lining has to be done on that. But that is by far the most expensive. The easiest way to get rid of your I&I is look at your manholes first and look at your smoke testing. There's an expression called the smoking gun, and that would be a catch basin that is supposed to collect stormwater and go to a storm sewer, but inadvertently or accidentally it was tied into a sanitary sewer. Those are the ones that Bob probably loses sleep about. Everybody does. If we find that, that's a huge win. That is just a huge win for us. And you can't find it unless you smoke test. And we warn you about smoke testing. When we smoke test the areas that we were talking about, let me go back to this shot here. One more down. We're going to be doing them in zones, and there will be smoke coming out of every manhole, and there will be smoke coming out of people's gutters because they're not shown that they're not tied into the sanitary sewer. And it's going to be, I would say, frightening for the community. They're going to see smoke. You're going to get fire truck calls, but we need to advertise this well in advance. Let everybody know why we're doing it and how we're going to go about doing it, and then make sure everybody knows what the schedule is going to be. We have yet to do a smoke testing job, or we didn't get the fire department called out there where someone has smoke coming in their house. And the reason there would be smoke coming in the house is because A, they got a floor drain that doesn't have any water in it. So the sanitary sewer is going right into the floor drain and they're filling their house up with smoke, or they got a cracked soil pipe in the house. And sometimes it's a good thing to know this now. I mean, we always put out a flyer beforehand and we advertise to fill all your floor drains up with water. Take about a cup or two of water, pour it in the floor drain to get that P-trap filled on it. So that's where we're at with it.
And not to scare all the residents, a little bit about smoke testing. Can you describe a little bit what type of smoke you're using?
It's non-toxic smoke. It's not going to be like we're burning leaves and putting in there. It's a non-toxic smoke, and it's colorized. It's either gray or yellow, and so we could identify it. It's coming out in canisters. We have blowers on the manholes. We blow air into the manholes by sucking the smoke back into it. We sandbag both sides of it, so we get a segment only. And we just pound the smoke in there, trying to find where any cracks are or any fissures could let storm water in. That's what we're trying to do with that. And you obviously been through smoke testing too, so.
With
Hey,
that in mind-
John, can I make one more comment?
Oh, sure.
When we smoke test an area, a segment, a line from manhole to manhole, it'll be there for one day only. We're not gonna come back and do it again. So once we move from north to south or south to north, whatever direction we're gonna do it in, we're done. So it's a one day thing. It's not gonna be like the whole summer there're gonna be smoke testing going on. We can't smoke test when it just recently rained, and we can't smoke test in the rain either, so.
And these are crews from Robinson Engineering?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
that is.
And you'll have to excuse me, I have a little PTSD left over from all that PLA conversation. These costs are, because they're under 150, they're pretty much set, correct?
Oh, yes, this is the number it's going to be. The one number that is going to be going out to bid, if you decide to go out to bid, is a televised and cleaning. And they'll be done by companies like a National Power Rotting or In Situ Form or Visu Sewer. Those type of firms will be doing that, and they'll be battling it out, so.
Okay.
So this more or less is just basically a diagnostic to figure out what the problems are and where they're at?
Exactly,
And doesn't
sir.
include any actual repairs or anything, if there is
No, but
any issue, right?
what the report will tell you, it will tell you what all the repairs are and all the estimated costs, and then we will prioritize them based on the amount of I&I going into the system per dollar spent to do the repair. So you're going to get a priority ranking. There will be some repairs that we're going to make a recommendation you don't go after. It costs too much to fix. If it's a 20-foot deep sewer to dig down there to fix a hole or something, you know, and there'll be some that are going to be real easy and cheap to repair, like a cleanout cap on top of someone's lawn who's like draining half their lawn into it. Get a cleanout cap on it, or disconnect a gutter too.
Does Public Works have any comment on
Yeah,
this?
Tom, when you say the gutters and us personally, we only maintain where the storm line is. We don't maintain any taps or anything like that. So if it is a residential home with a gutter issue or a floor drain issue, they will address those issues, though that is not on the town.
I could tell you how we do it, though. So what we do is we're going to quantify them, okay? Now, if someone has an interior home with a problem on it, we're not going in there. But if their service line, which goes from, like what Bob said, from the pipe that you own and maintain, the service line is private property, even in the right-of-way, going back to where the home, if that is cracked and leaking and smoke is coming out of the ground there, we're going to identify it. We're going to identify the gutters on it, too. We're going to have a list of public property improvements and private property improvements. It'll all be on a GIS database. Every private property improvement is going to have an address associated with it. And then you could decide how you want to go after it. A lot of towns, they have this expression, take care of my house first before I go to someone else's house. They want to repair all the public property problems that were identified before they go after the private property. Because lining a sanitary sewer service line, this is what a residential service line is, it could be $10,000 to $12,000. You know, and your ordinance says you're not supposed to allow I&I into the system. A guy's gutter who's tied into the sewer, it's pretty easy to fix. Those are like $10, $15, these gutter repair kits over at Home Depot. Those are a no-brainer. You should mandate that. But instituting a $10,000 to $12,000 improvement on a homeowner because, A, we looked at 10% of the system, I mean, there could be a lot more homes out there besides just this small area we're looking at now. But when I say we looked at 10%, I think this is probably going to be about 20% of the area that we suspect where most of the I&I is coming into. Homes that were built with PVC sewers, you're not seeing a lot of problems from it. Homes that were built in the 90s and 2000, 2010, you're not seeing problems yet with it. It's the 50, 60-year-old homes you're seeing problems with.
And for the new members that are on the board, the reason we need to do this is, in a perfect world, you should see your sanitary treatment flow match what you are actually pumping in water. That's an ultimate perfect world. You'll never really see that, but you want to get as close to that as you can. So when we do have these big rain events, you really shouldn't see your pumpage, sanitary treatment pumpage go up. It should be pretty close
Yeah,
to
and
normal.
And the whole issue is that we're spending unneeded money treating water that doesn't necessarily need to be treated, so we're preventing it from being mixed for no
Correct.
reason, right?
That is, and it alters our capacity for treatment for when these new subdivisions go in and everything else. Because if things keep going the way they are and I gets worse, the treatment plant will not be able to handle that flow, or you're gonna have to spend millions of dollars
Sure.
to increase that flow. And it can create flooding and everything else, and so
So-
we're trying to head that off now.
Yeah, the future problem makes sense, but is it the amount of money that we're spending to treat water that doesn't need to be treated, is it outweighing what it's gonna cost us to basically have it all investigated? What's the cost differential there? You see what I'm saying?
I don't have those numbers right now.
I could answer that. It will never be a one-to-one. You're looking at maintaining your system. We cannot say that you spend $78,000, your sewer bill next year is gonna be $78,000 less.
Right.
But it's about, if you don't do anything, it's just gonna get worse for you too. You're trying to extend the life of the infrastructure in place before you gotta do a replacement on it.
Sure.
So it's common maintenance here too.
And if I can add a footnote to that, this conversation has taken place numerous years on this board.
I'm new, yes,
About the
excuse my
I&I.
ignorance on this.
And I think if we added it up cumulatively, probably if we would have addressed the I&I issue 10 years ago,
Sure.
got a better handle on it, our Cherville treatment bill would be much lower. But again, hindsight's 20/20. This is one of those things we almost can't afford not to do it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to know
So-
kind of the difference here.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt for a few months.
Yeah.
But we can't afford not to.
Yeah, if it's been an ongoing problem, again, I'm kind of new here, so I didn't know
Yeah.
if this has been
No,
discussed over the last
I
20
had
years
those
or
same questions. It's
just
like, why
tonight.
do we need to do this,
Yeah.
so.
And-
Okay,
And that's,
thanks.
that's why we're also taking a small bite to see.
Right. Has this ever been done
bang for our
on
buck we're gonna get out of this.
anywhere else in the town, or is this the first time that we're actually considering, running all of this sort of testing?
It would be the first that I know of.
Gotcha.
Well, they did this smoke testing probably 18 years ago, when I first got on the board. And I remember everyone called about the smoke. Smoke was coming out of manhole covers on 41. There were accidents and everything else, so, it's pandemonium. But we did it then, but because we didn't really have a better plan, it didn't really pan out. This is a better way to do it, just to do a localized section, the oldest area of town that everyone deems might be the worst,
Mm-hmm.
and then take it from there,
Oh, I agree.
yeah.
I agree.
But, yeah, there will be calls.
Can I add one more thing? There's a big notification push that we're doing right now. We do door hangers well before, the day or two before. We put sawhorses out on the road saying smoke testing occurring on these days. We work with the social media groups to say that this is the area, just be prepared with pictures. This is what it should look like, smoke coming out of a manhole. Don't be alarmed. If you got any questions, call Robinson, call Mr. Manasopoulos or whatever, but we could have anybody on that call out list. But we're really pushing.
Paul
on it.
Robinson is fine.
Okay, call Robinson, okay. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that you guys were included, that's all, But I think the social media part of it, the door hangers is one thing, that's all included in the price. Whatever street we're working on, we have the sawhorses with the notes, with the sign on there saying what we're doing and from what time to what time. And our people are skilled at communicating with the residents. I can't tell you how much we get some irate resident talking, and then they just calm down, they explain to it, they've done this is not their first rodeo. And we just try to take care of the problems as they come up. But we're doing everything we can to minimize them, so.
Okay, thank you.
Tom, you might have covered this when I stepped out. I see the section that we're doing now, moving forward, if the board decides to keep going, we're pretty
So-
much looking at everything built prior to roughly like 1997-ish.
1972 was the atlas that I have from the town that shows these 4 subdivisions only. So these were built in the 60s. We don't know when. It could have been the 50s too. We don't know when. But the 1972 sewer atlas the town has these four subdivisions, and this is what, you know, Bob said was a good place to start. We don't know if if Lantern Woods is the worst. It may not be, but we could find out. And then when we're done with this, we can see what did you like, what didn't you like. We start learning from it, you know, and then we go to the next zone. And it all comes down to money. So the next zone on this, if you look at this slide here, I mean, you could have one here for 115, but you take out the televised and cleaning, there's 70. Or you might want to say, well, let's televise and cleaning the Lantern Woods section, because we didn't include that in the 78,000. This was the whole ball of wax. This is the $1 million job, you know, and we ended up coming up with this portion here. But I think it's going to be learning as we go. What works best. What works great here may not work great in a different town too.
Right.
I have a question. This is just for costs and billing purposes. Would stormwater be chipping in on this as well, since it will be their lines that we will be televising? And
We're not.
we're not televising.
We're not
any
televising
We're
storm
just gonna
sewers.
do all
We're not.
sanitary.
All sanitaries only
Okay.
on this. I'm going to think what would happen if there wouldn't be any reason we would need to televise this, the storm sewer.
Okay.
The only thing that may, possibility if you did televise it based on smoke testing and then you did a dye test,
Right.
you know, and all of a sudden you may have a problem in the storm sewer if it's crossing a sanitary, then you may have to do a
Right.
short little televise and get a small contractor in here just to quick televise that to see just what the actual isolated problem is, but, yeah. Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you for your presentation. As far as moving forward on that, you will provide a scope of work, actual, to get this project going.
We'll have a scope of work based on the master agreement, and we'll have our task order based on this work that's shown right there for $78,000 for the schedule, and the scope of the task order will be accompanied by it, so,
Okay,
thank you.
all right, thank you. Any reports from the town manager?
No report at this time, thank you.
I do have a question for the town manager, just to keep the town manager on his toes. In reference to the property on Deodore Street, can you give an update on that?
So I can give a brief
Brief,
update.
very brief.
It is with legal, and as that information becomes available to me, I will bring it to the board.
It's being addressed.
It is being addressed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And sorry, Bob, I passed you up there. Any,
I have nothing.
all right. Next item, item 8, payment of bills. Consider approval of the progress payment to M&J Underground for the Acorn Sanitary Sewer Project in the amount of $187,376.56, and authorize the clerk treasurer to issue payment from the 2021 wastewater utility fund. Looking for a motion to pay.
So moved.
I will second.
Motion made in second. Other question? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those in, motion carried. Let's see, payment, item B. Accounts payable voucher dated February 21st, 2024, representing payment for the payroll, supplies, services, equipment rendered to the sanitary district in the combined total of $28,190.88. Looking for a motion to pay.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Accounts payable voucher dated February 21st, 2024, representing payment for payroll, supplies, services, and equipment rendered to the wastewater utility for the town of St. John in a combined total of $1,076,348.64. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion made, second? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. Public comment, anybody in the audience that would like to comment? Any comments from the board?
I would just like to thank Bob for this nice report that you put together. And I appreciate you coming to the meetings. It's very helpful and informative.
Yes, we appreciate you having you here. It's a luxury.
With no further comment, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will second.
Motion made, second. All those in favor say aye.